What are you looking for? When I learned that the theme of today's service was inspired by the words of Jesus, I decided to take a closer look at where they appear in the book of John. It's actually very early on, the part where Jesus picks up the first two of his disciples. The setting is a place called Bethany, where John the Baptist is, well, baptizing people. The people there want to know if he is the prophet or the Messiah. Paraphrasing, John says, No, I'm not that guy. But the guy you're looking for is somewhere around here. The next day, John the Baptist sees Jesus coming toward him, and he tells his people that this is the guy you're looking for. That's the guy, the Son of God. So two of John's disciples begin to follow Jesus. Jesus eventually becomes aware that there are two random guys following him. He turns and says to them the big question, "What are you looking for?" Then they say to him, "Teacher, where are you staying?" What is up with that? The disciples totally fail to answer the big question, and instead they ask another totally unrelated question. Where are you staying? So finally Jesus answers, "Come and see." And that's where this little vignette ends. This is really frustrating for a student minister. I wanted so much more out of this story. I wonder why the disciples didn't answer the big question, what are you looking for? And why didn't Jesus press them on it after they failed to answer it appropriately? They're his disciples, right? But if I had to guess, I would say it was because they did not know what they were looking for. The disciples took the word of John the Baptist and followed Jesus, their new teacher. But yet Jesus was concerned with this question, or he would never have asked it. He wanted to know what the disciples were seeking, what they were hoping would happen or expecting to happen by following him. But yet they couldn't tell him. Perhaps it was just easier to follow. I imagine Jesus was a little disappointed at their lack of self-awareness and self-direction. I like to think of Jesus as a Zen master, asking a question of his students, only to find out that they have a lot to learn along the spiritual path. But fortunately for the disciples, if you're going to blindly follow any teacher, Jesus was a pretty good choice. They lucked out. But in today's world, if you don't know what you're looking for, there are plenty of people out there who will be more than happy to tell you. For instance, marketing and popular culture has the ability to make us seek things and lifestyles we never even knew we wanted. Advertising has the ability to use our deepest unmet needs and insecurities to make us believe, often totally unconsciously, that buying a product or service will satisfy them. You know, there are a couple of recent ad campaigns that have just blown my mind. One is for Subaru, which I would say is a pretty UU-friendly car. They're eco-friendly, fuel-efficient, and the company is philanthropic. And they have that outdoorsy, nature-loving thing going on. But have you heard? Love is a Subaru. Who knew? From a marketing standpoint, it's really ingenious. Align a car with all of the warm, fuzzy feelings of family and pets and nature. What are you looking for? Love? You might just end up with a shiny new Subaru in your garage. But the other advertising campaign is much more aggravating. It was a radio campaign for a local high-end jeweler up in Richmond. The tagline was, "Improve your quality of life." Trying to follow this logic to its natural conclusion, I racked my brain trying to think of ways a fine piece of jewelry would improve the quality of my existence. And I really couldn't come up with anything. Now, if a diamond tennis bracelet could do the dishes and clean my house, perhaps I'd buy in. But yet this tagline, "Improve the quality of your life," was probably tested by marketers with some degree of success. It must resonate with somebody out there. What are you looking for? A better quality of life? Okay, buy some jewelry. Mission accomplished. Although I don't buy into a lot of advertising messages, I know that I'm still susceptible to what advertised society and pop culture say is the right thing in terms of style and personal appearance. I've been that queen guinea pig looking for answers in the mirror and other wrong places. Misleading messages are in the air we breathe and the water we're swimming in, and it's easy to get pulled off track. And even if we don't get hung up on material things, we can often be prone to what I call the things will be better when syndrome, as in, things will be better when I finish school. Things will be better when I get married. Things will be better when I have a family. Things will be better when I get divorced. Things will be better when I get that new job or promotion. Things will be better when the kids grow up and leave the house. Things will be better when I have grandkids. Things will be better when I retire. There's nothing wrong with any of these aspirations, but living life as an endless string of things will be better whens leaves little room to appreciate or enjoy the present. By focusing on these external things that may or may not happen in the future, it's also a great way to avoid making the present more satisfying. Some of these things will be better whens come straight from my own family. Retirement, especially, was a huge topic when I was growing up. My parents talked about retirement decades before it would actually happen. One of my most heartbreaking memories is a phone conversation with my mother. She said that she felt like she was in limbo, caught between the working phase of life and retirement, which was coming up in a few years. She described the feeling as waiting for her life to start. Although I'm sure she hadn't completely thought through what she had just said, the implications of her words were very upsetting. Here she was, a woman nearly 60 years of age, still waiting for her life to begin. What a sad way to exist. My parents' long-awaited retirement began when my dad turned 65. 5 years later, my mom passed away. My father 2 years after that. To me, this is a cautionary tale. Many of us have known a person who is always striving for something, an achievement, a goal. It's all they talk about. It's like an obsession. But when they get what they want, then they seem strangely indifferent about the whole thing and quickly move on to seeking the next big thing. It's kind of like the classic workaholic. They're not really that uncommon. Working themselves to the point of exhaustion and misery. They take the self-righteous view of the martyr. This person cannot see the havoc they are wreaking on coworkers, family, and friends. They take the work, and if you take the work away from this person, their sense of self and purpose are annihilated. Like any other type of addict, the workaholic uses work to avoid addressing something that's wrong on the inside. When talking about the need for human seeking, I always find the Zen Buddhists helpful. Here's a story for you. There once was a stone cutter who was dissatisfied with himself and with his position in life. One day, he passed a wealthy merchant's house. Through the open gateway, he saw many fine possessions and important visitors. How powerful that merchant must be, thought the stone cutter. He became very envious and wished he could be like the merchant. To his great surprise, he suddenly became the merchant, enjoying more luxuries and power than he had ever imagined. Soon a high official passed by, carried in a sedan chair, accompanied by attendants and escorted by soldiers beating gongs. Everyone, no matter how wealthy, had to bow low before the procession. How powerful that official is, he thought. I wish I could be a high official. Then suddenly he became the high official, carried everywhere in his embroidered sedan chair. It was a hot summer day, so the official felt very uncomfortable in the sticky chair. He looked up at the sun. How powerful the sun is, he thought. I wish I could be the sun. Guess what happens? He becomes the sun, shining fiercely down on everyone, scorching the fields, and is cursed by the farmers and laborers. But a huge black cloud moved between him and the earth so that his light could no longer shine on everything below. How powerful that storm cloud is, he thought. I wish I could be a cloud. Then he became the cloud, flooding the fields and villages with rain. But soon he found that he was being pushed away by some great force and realized that it was the wind. How powerful it is, he thought. I wish I could be the wind. And then he became the wind, blowing tiles off the roofs of houses and uprooting trees. But after a while, he ran up against something that would not move, no matter how forcefully he blew against it. A huge, towering rock. How powerful that rock is, he thought. I wish I could be a rock. Then he became the rock, more powerful than anything else on earth. But as he stood there, he heard the sound of a hammer pounding a chisel into the hard surface, and he felt himself being changed. What could be more powerful than I, the rock, he thought. He looked down and saw far below him the figure of a stone cutter. The late Charlotte Joko Beck is one of my favorite writers about Zen. She said that if we want a life of sanity or clarity or peace, we have to understand what all of this searching is about. Otherwise, we run the risk of being like the stone cutter, caught in a cycle of seeking and disappointment, and ultimately getting chiseled. She says that we're all looking for an ideal life, which is different things for different people, and there's nothing inherently bad in the searching. It's what's motivating the search that matters. Searching often comes from a feeling, conscious or not, that we're missing part of ourselves. When our searching is driven by distress or unease stemming from our feelings of incompleteness, anything we find will eventually disappoint us. When we finally figure out that the cycle of searching and disappointment is really just a need to alleviate our pain, we can stop all of this searching and work with the pain by examining its roots. When the underlying unmet need is recognized and understood, real and lasting solutions can be found. As much as I thank Charlotte Joko Beck for her advice, I think looking at pain is really hard. Who wants to examine their own pain? Who actually wants to take their personal demons out for a spin on the dance floor? Often these demons have to do with feeling unloved and unworthy and lonely. You know, speaking of demons, I saw this funniest sign on Facebook. It said, "Sometimes I wrestle with my demons. Sometimes we just snuggle." But despite the pitfalls of searching, it's still something we must do. And there are healthy, positive ways to search. The free and responsible search for truth and meaning is written into our principles. I love that the word responsible is in there. For a search to be fruitful, it must be done responsibly by understanding your motivations, done mindfully with purpose and understanding of the self and one's true motivations. Searching allows us to make meaning of ourselves and the world around us. It helps us discern what is important in life from its myriad distractions and illusions. You know, just by being here this morning, you are engaging in a healthy search. Many of us are in a UU religious community to find answers, not simple, superficial, one-size-fits-all answers, but deeper answers. We're also generally comfortable with the idea of there being no answer at times, or no answer right now. You know, this is not an easy path. There is no instant gratification with this. No one can give you an exact formula or plan for creating a meaningful life. Our way involves a continual process of learning and reflection and growing and doing. But the good news is that that hard work is lighter here, where we have the love and the support of community. We have joy and music and humor, and we have the wisdom of our fellow seekers to draw upon, not to mention the coffee and snacks. We are bound in the joy and wonder of helping each other on the search. So what are we looking for? As the reading so beautifully captured it, we swing like pendulums, looking for both personal truth inside ourselves and a larger universal truth outside ourselves, with a tension between the self and all that is greater. This seeking is described as a hunger. Being hungry isn't a choice. Just as we need to eat when we're hungry, we also need to search. Our inward and outward searching is natural. It's the inevitable outcome of an inherent desire to find meaning and balance and right relationship between the self and all that is greater. Perhaps that's why we come to church. As the reading by John Bon Forrester says, "And so life pulls us and we swing from truth to truths, from cosmos to self, from mystery to clarity, from out to in. It is our state to swing and be drawn ever into another swing. This is the motion that makes ours a human life. May we live it well."